Are we ready?
I think I'm ready, yeah.
Okay. Welcome to Anibros. Once again, we're the cousins here for another great session of recording our ramblings about the Japanimations. As usual, you can go to our website at www.anibroscreative.com, and you can go to our specifically only our website at www.anibroscreative.com. Hopefully, probably you already are there listening to this now, I assume.
Yeah.
Probably.
Or you're, on one of the many places you can find us. You can like and subscribe to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcast Place, maybe? Question mark?
Yeah, I heard some news that the Google Play was ending the service.
Oh, really?
But I don't know, that was a while ago, and they didn't terminate our ability to publish to it, and the page is still up. So I don't know what's going on. Google is the worst with this kind of thing. So I don't know. But anyway, whatever. You're listening to this now, hopefully, and you found it some way. And it doesn't do any good to advertise the other places you can hear it to listeners who already found it.
We appreciate you being here with us.
Yes. Yep. And as usual, I'm Laven, at Lavenboth on Twitter.
Nice. And I am Kenny, at Sakoku_otaku on Twitter. And you can also follow us on Twitter at Anibros Creative, where we tweet out episodes. And that's about it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Whenever there's a new episode, someone from our tweet support staff will tweet it out, and we never use it for anything else. So, yay.
It's better that way.
Yeah, it is.
Every time someone decides not to tweet, it betters the world. And I say this to someone who's probably tweeted twice today. Doing my part to bring down society.
Yeah. Yeah, Twitter just sucks. I hate it. But it doesn't stop me from lurking on Twitter all day.
That's where you find the news. The Annie Twitters.
Well, it's where I learn what to look up later. It's what I learn. It's where I find out what's going on in the world, so I should figure out the news. Oh, something's going down. I should look this up and read the real news about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you just get a bunch of vague cursory comments on some X event. You don't know what happened. You're R.I.P. this person. You're oh, what? If I was in a mass shooting, this is what I would do. Oh shit, there was a mass shooting.
Oh god. Yeah. Oh, those are always the fun days. I guess we can do our what has become a regular segment. How's the pandemic going for you? The fun thing in the States is literally the second case numbers went down, shooting started again. And it was oh, nature's healing. Americans aren't safe to go to the grocery store or walk down the street.
Yeah. Yeah. But on the flip side of this, at least, everyone there is getting vaccinated and it's returning to normalcy, and your case numbers are going down, right? And they're not spiking back
Somewhat.
up.
I asked I have a good friend who is a med student, and she said that at least for the major hospital here in Portland, case numbers are not going up. I have seen some doom tweets predicting that, because Oregon, at least, as many other states did, kind of tried to get back to normal in July 1. And a lot of people are predicting that we're going to see a spike in case numbers. But I don't think, at the very least, at the major hospital, we haven't seen that bear out yet. Unfortunately, they did let me know that they are seeing a spike in non-COVID related deaths, because people are finally able to go to the doctor, or now they feel comfortable going, and they're being oh crap, well, your cancer's back, or shoot, we could have caught this aneurysm, but we were in emergency, protocol, so you didn't come in. It's a hellscape.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds awful.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Logan's Run?
Yes.
It's
a
just
great movie.
so yeah. It's sci-fi movie from the 70s for benefit of the listeners and the 12-year-olds that probably listen to us, edgelords, I guess. Logan's Run is a sci-fi movie based on a science fiction book, and essentially it's 200 years in the future from today. It was like 250 years in the future when it was written. So it's a utopian society. Everybody lives in this dome, but when you turn 30, you you participate in this ritual where you kind of ascend, but in reality you die, and you're told that you're going to be renewed. You're going to be reborn in a new body. And I'm watching it the whole time, and I'm just like, this is great. I'm down. Utopian society. You just do whatever you want for like 30 years, and then you're out. Sign me up. It's better than what I've been doing for the last 18 months. Yeah. How are the Olympics?
Well, speaking of domes, the Olympics are happening, yet no one can watch them. Oh man, it's such a shit show. Where do I even begin? It is so bad. Like the most recent polls that I've seen are like over 80% of people still do not want the Olympics. Wow. Here, they're like, no, fuck that. Like, we don't want that. And if we do, like, if you do give it to us, like, at least let us do other stuff. But no, like, okay, first of all, there's no business for anything to be reopened right now because the vaccination rate is like 20% of the population or something like that.
Dang.
Like, I just in the mail got my vaccine voucher, so I can legally now schedule my vaccine somewhere in the country to go get it. So how it's working here is you can't just go to the doctor and get a vaccine. You have to wait for your prefecture and your city and your ward office to like mail you these little vaccine tickets. You get 2 tickets, and you take it to the vaccine place, and you get a vaccine, and they stamp it, and they say like, hey, come back in 3 weeks, get the next one.
Yeah.
Standard, like, how I'm sure you guys all did it. But we have to wait for these like vouchers. We can't just do it if we're like of a certain age or whatever. Because it varies, like each bureaucracy is different in each area. So they have to like figure out how to do it. So that's like the standard way. But there's a non-standard way where if you're, they like, how do I say it? Like they employed this other additional auxiliary system called like the workplace vaccinations. So while everyone else in the whole country is just waiting, they had some extra Moderna vaccinations because the Japanese government was like, we're not sure if those are safe, so we're not going to give them to everybody yet. But we do have them. So workplaces can sign up to give vaccinations to workers, which with like the intended effect being giant zaibatsu corporations can just like take it upon themselves to vaccinate their workers, like ANA, like the airlines, and like Mitsubishi Chemical and all these like big places. Sure, they can like give their workers the vaccines so they can all come back to work and resume normalcy is faster and get the economy rolling again. Right. So normally my company is not big enough for this kind of thing, but our building, which is like a huge financial sector housing building, is doing it for all their tenants. So I got to like ride the wave of being like, oh cool, our company's in this building and they're letting everyone in the building do it. So I got my first vaccination 2 weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
I think. And my second one is due next week.
That's fantastic.
So then I'll be good to go. But
good.
So that's the only vaccine. So that this working vaccination program plus elderly people are the only people who have gotten vaccinated.
Wow.
So far.
That's amazing. And we've talked about this a lot off mic.
Oh, sorry. And healthcare workers, like a long time ago.
Okay, that's good. But when I was a public school teacher in Japan, every year, every state employee or every government employee had a physical where we like received a bunch of paperwork up front that we had to fill out. We received like some at-home tests that we had to collect samples with. We showed up at City Hall. We got in line. We went through this process where we got checked out, and they did like EKG, not an EKG. They did like a whatever the heart one is. I think it's an EKG.
That's EKG, yeah.
Or they did the like super great, I'm going to put this, measuring tape around your waist and laugh at you because you're a fat foreigner. And they did that like clockwork. And so like to hear that the vaccine rollout isn't going like that just baffles me.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, man, what? I imagine maybe there's some supply issues. I mean, Japan has a decent pharmaceutical wing, but I guess maybe they're not producing a lot of stuff in-house, and obviously they're not Pfizer or Moderna's home. But it's just like,
so yeah,
I feel so bad for what's going on over there.
So yeah, they are not producing any vaccines because, as it turns out, the Japanese domestic market doesn't produce any vaccines. So nope, everything gets imported, and also they are too skeptical about the approval time or like I guess lack of time it took to get approved. So they're like just not wanting to approve it. So Pfizer was the only one approved for like a while, and I assume that's just because enough money was able to grease the wheels to get that one approved faster. But the Moderna one like just got approved like, I don't know, I want to say like 1 month before they started giving it out.
Wow.
And it was a long time. So like they didn't approve the Moderna one until I want to say like June or May for like public use.
Yeah.
And AstraZeneca one is still not approved. Like,
yeah.
So you can't.
I don't even know if it's approved here in the States. We have Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson.
The Johnson & Johnson one is also not approved here. So nothing is approved, and it's taking forever. And I mean, so yeah, you know about the bureaucracy. It's just like that times a million for new things. Your physical happens every year, so they got the process down. But for a new thing,
that's a good point.
They're like, what do we do? There's no paperwork on this. There's no manual. There's no anything. And what do we do?
There's not one Excel spreadsheet for this process.
No. But they'll make one. They'll make one that is actually not a database of any kind, but it's actually the form you have to fill out is distributed via Excel. No, it's just a real shit show. Like it's just like, I don't understand. Even like I don't know. I naively thought like, yeah, disaster prevention is something like Japan knows what's up.
Oh,
but
100%.
But the disaster has to be a known disaster. They have to have already had it 10 times, and a lot of people have had to die and to learn what to do now. And this is like a new thing, and they're like, "What do we do?"
Oh, that's a fascinating point.
And also,
I guess,
and also, it doesn't help that like Japan Inc. is just like, "Fuck these people; they need to be working," and that's like the underlying tone the entire time.
Well, we're having that happen here too, and this is obviously, we're not a medical podcast. We're not a pandemic podcast, but we have to live in this society. And, one of the things that kind of people were, this thread I was reading about the risk of numbers spiking is because so many states here in the United States are declaring it like, oh, we're at 70% vaccinated. We can go back to work. We can go back to normal. They're not going to want to pull that back. And that means that even if we do see spikes, they're probably not going to be like, oh, we were wrong, go back into lockdown. It's just it's a mess, and capitalism keeps grinding forward. Yeah. The machine keeps churning.
Yeah, we haven't had any sort of actual lockdown, which at first I was like, the very first time when this first came up, everyone was so good. Like, the streets were empty. Everyone was just like, we're all in this together, and we're going to like figure it out. And now, like right now, I'm even guilty of this. Like, I went out yesterday to do something in the city, and it's just like mass everyone's out partying. You can't. So like the brilliant move to like quell this is like, okay, restaurants have to stop serving by 8 o'clock and no alcohol. So people, like, just like the youths are not staying home at all. It's just like the same amount of people out, but instead of not being able to drink in the restaurant, they just drink on the street. They're just like mass people out on the streets, just drinking and talking and hanging out. And I'm
that's fascinating.
It's like, okay, nobody cares about this anymore.
Yeah. I mean, the crazy thing here is, like, it was so subtle. I remember being in a grocery store, like, whatever the closest weekend after July 1 was, and somebody restocking the shelves wasn't wearing a mask, and it took me like a few minutes to recognize what I had seen. And I'm like, whoa,
that's a human
we're
face.
just like, yeah, it's a human face. And it's like, because now most, it was funny, like the state government here in Oregon, like, said, okay, we're going back to business, you can lift this mask mandate, but our occupational health and safety hadn't caught up yet. And so, like, they had to emergency change the rules so that people could, like, not wear masks and stuff. Earlier today, I went to an event to play some cards, and it was the first time I'd done this in, like, a year and a half. I wore a mask the whole time, and I, like, used hand sanitizer between each round when I played people. But there were there was like 100 people there, and probably half weren't wearing masks. I was grateful that the staff of the place I was at, they were all wearing masks. But I think people are so sick of it that they're just like, we gave them an inch and they're going to take a mile. It's like, oh, we're good. I'm vaccinated. Cool. I'm never going to wear a mask again, and I'm going to start licking door handles.
Yeah. 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 You mentioned earlier that, like, you're saying, like, they're reluctant to do another state of emergency after doing the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Here, we keep having states of emergency, like, all the time. They last like 4 weeks. Everything shuts down. Like, businesses shut down. People don't shut down. They continue doing whatever they do. And then, like, they lift it for a week, and then the cases spike, and then they're like, oh, another state of emergency, back to how it was. And, like, I think this, coupled with, like, just the general lack of accommodation for working from home for most people in, like, Japanese companies, like, everyone has to go out. Everyone's already out. Everyone's been going out this whole time. So they just don't care. And the numbers spike, and everyone's just like on the news, how is this happening? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, well, I was just on the Yamanate line, and I can tell you that's how it's happening, because everyone's jammed onto the train.
Yeah.
That's how.
And if you even, man, this is where public transit is just going to be so much more dangerous, because, like, I knew plenty of people who, I lived, on the coast in Chiba, 2.5 hours away from Tokyo. I had plenty of students whose parents commuted every morning into the city. And so if you just think about how many people come in from Saitama or the surrounding prefectures, Chiba, like all the different sleepaway cities that are within the Tokyo metropolitan area, like, yeah, I feel sucky. It sucks. It's my summation.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, I wouldn't worry about it though, because I guess the general population isn't worrying about it. So why should I?
It's fair.
Once I'm
you're honestly, with your first dose, you're most of the way there.
Yeah.
That's what we started prioritizing here in the States, was getting as many people with dose 1 as possible. So
yeah, as soon as I get my second dose, I'm probably just gonna be like, fuck it, I'm doing whatever I want now.
I'm gonna start licking door handles.
Yeah. Like, I can't, like, I don't know, it's just like a futile effort to keep everyone just like, can you guys just calm down for 2 years? Just like, don't do anything. And they're like, no, we can do like 1, and then we're gonna get pissed off and stop. And it's like, well, you already did 1. Can you just, like, Not? No.
I'm telling you, I think Logan's Run held the answer. Having I literally just finished it, so it's on my mind. But like, we should have just said, okay, whatever. We're gonna cancel rent. We're gonna cancel payments on debt. We're just gonna.
People don't need to die at 30 for this to be a reality that can be possible, though.
Well, we wouldn't kill the people at 30. I'm just saying, like, we could have done 2 years of like a total bacchanalia. Logan's Run predicted Tinder, which is hilarious. There's like early in the beginning, the main character Logan, he like uses this device in his room to like teleport a woman into his room, and
well, that's you can do that here. It's delivery health.
Yeah, right, exactly. But it's like funny to see that, and like the people on that teleportation service, they have to elect to be on it because they're like, yeah, I want a good time. So I'm just like, oh, this is Tinder. We kind of like we blew right past the Olympics.
Oh yeah,
because
that's true.
I'm just really fascinated to hear a bit more about it because my experience, I was in Japan 2014, 2015, and like even then when Japan was bidding for the 2020 Olympics, and because Chiba holds a bunch of the sports arenas, like a lot of people I interacted with were like volunteering for the preparation for it or starting, the planning of the preparation. And it has to suck that the pandemic happened and messed all that up. But to me, it's like such a crazy shift that now it's like, we don't want this. Like, go away.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very complicated situation. Like it's just so intertwined now with COVID. It's like impossible to separate the two issues. And then on top of that, you have like from my perspective, the whole point of having the Olympics is to, I guess, showcase your national capacity and then also like drive up tourism during the time when everyone's here and like recoup, because you like invest substantially in a bunch of like stupid temporary infrastructure, and then everyone shows up and you recoup those losses and get profit by tourism rising, right? That's supposed to be the point. But if we don't, if like nobody comes, how all you're doing is just like, I don't know, continuing to spend money for no reason.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I feel like this is like a really simple way to describe it, but it seems to me that they've never heard of the sunk cost fallacy and they just want to press on no matter what. And I'm like, guys, just stop. Like, yes, it sucks. You wasted all this money on all these stadiums and stuff, but like, just stop. Just quit.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. And they're like, no. We're going to spend way more and endanger the lives of way more people, and then also bring in all these foreign people to compete in the Olympics, but also not keep them safe from the pandemic, which has been happening. Like, so I don't know.
Right.
It's just like ridiculous. They just don't have the capacity. Like the government doesn't have the capacity to deal with the pandemic outright by itself. And then throwing the Olympics on there, they just like don't know what to do. And the investors are just like, you have to have the Olympics. And they're like, all right, I guess we have to have the Olympics.
Well, it's not even like, I'm trying to think of the right way to put it, but it's not like someone's going to come in with a wrecking ball and take the stadium away.
Right.
It's
already built.
And it's like
done. It's finished.
Yeah, it's built. You got it. Money is a social construction and it's all fake anyway. So just like, yeah, we have this thing now. We can hold events in there. And, not a lot of places want the Olympics anymore. So Japan could easily get the 2028 Summer Olympics.
I really, I don't understand, like, really what the true driving force of it is. Like, obviously, the mechanism to why they're saying yes no matter what is like some kind of political or like I don't know, some kind of like corrupt dealings are happening. But for life of me, I can't figure out like what the motivation or like what the benefit is to some party to have the Olympics. Like, what's the motivation? I guess the IOC once they're cut. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know like what it is, like what happens. Probably like NBC and stuff once, like the television companies.
But
they're like, fuck, I don't care if the people are there or not. We get to broadcast it and all that sponsor money.
right.
Like maybe, I don't know.
But at the same time, like I've talked with my host mother who lives in Saitama, and she was like, I don't want the Olympics here. And that I hear that from so many Japanese people that I'm not going to watch any of these events. Like, I'm sure I want the athlete. Like, it literally sucks for everybody, because you have a whole group of athletes that, just based on how a lot of their sports works, like gymnastics and whatnot, this was their shot, and now they'll probably never get to compete in the Olympics again. And so like it just sucks all the way around. But at the same time, it's like the home country, like you said earlier, like there's like 80% of the population of Japan doesn't want these to happen. I'm not going to watch.
Yeah. Like it does.
I also don't know how to watch them, honestly. Like, I guess I could Google the Olympics and probably stream it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just stupid. Like, the Olympics are stupid. I don't understand why everyone flips out about the Olympics every year. I do, but I also don't like the Summer Olympics at all. I just think it's boring. I like the Winter Olympics. I like to watch some skiing events, but that's it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just like not. It's such a big hype up for like just devastation of a local area that I don't understand why they even need to do this.
I remember, I wish I had done this research before we started recording, but I remember a news story about this guy who, he is a Japanese person. His house, the last time Japan hosted the Olympics, his house was demolished to make a stadium. And then to make the new stadium in Tokyo, this guy's house was demolished again. I feel so bad for that person who had to go through all of that for nothing.
Well, he even says that in the interview. He's like, the first time it wasn't for nothing, because a big, we like after the war, we showed our technological progress, and it was like for like the national pride. And he's like, I was upset but willing to do it for that. But this time it's just like a shit show, and I hate it. And they took my house for no reason.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't understand why they have to do this. Like, all they need to do is put it in a permanent location, like in Vienna or something, or like Geneva, some like neutral zone, and be like, okay, every 4 years, the Olympics are here. Like, that's it. This is the Olympics. They happen here.
Yeah, or just Athens.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Put it in Greece.
Yeah.
Like, send it back.
They tried that, remember? And their economy collapsed.
Oh, that's right.
So that's why I didn't suggest Athens. But
everything. Oh god, we gotta talk about anime before I like jump in front of a streetcar.
Yeah, the world's terrible. Okay, that's what you gotta learn.
World's terrible. Let's talk about cartoons.
If you're one of those 12-year-old kids, like, be happy right now.
Yeah,
it just gets worse and sucks more.
Yeah, because at 30, your crystal's gonna turn. It's gonna start blinking, and you're done.
Yeah.
So with that all said, have you been watching anything or reading anything?
Mm-hmm. I have been watching Dragon Ball. I finished Dragon Ball.
Nice.
I'm watching Super right now.
Okay.
Oh, I should have said Z. I've watched Dragon Ball Z. The entirety of it.
So, okay. So did you watch Dragon Ball, like the original, or did you just do Dragon Ball Z?
On this run, I didn't watch Dragon Ball because I had watched it a few years ago, and I was like, nah, I don't need to rewatch it. But I started with Z, and then watched that, and then I'm like mid. Actually, I don't even know how many episodes of Super there are, but I'm like 50 episodes into Super or something like that. So
now, educate me. Let's do like 90 seconds on Dragon Ball.
Okay.
So I did the Dragon Ball Z. I watched it all on Toonami. And it ends the Buu arc, I think.
Yeah.
Is that where it ends? Um, and then there is Stacy's favorite rendition of Dragon Ball GT. Where does Super fall into this? Does it replace GT? Is it before GT? How does Dragon Ball GT, which I think stands for Greatest Television Show, how does it factor in?
That is what Akira Toriyama, the brainchild behind GT, said when he made GT, and when Stacy can back me up on this, that it was intended to be the final cut, and no more Dragon Ball should be made after GT, but unfortunately, that didn't happen. So
I feel like that logic is like, I never want anyone to make a plane again, so I'm going to crash my plane.
Well, that's only if you believe the Super sucks. And I'm not going to say it sucks, but I'm not having a good time while watching it.
Oh, it's a bummer.
So, let's see. Back to your question.
Yeah.
Mostly, and I think the intention is that GT is just like non-canon and like is now like stripped out and is part of the different world. Like GT didn't happen, let's pretend that. And then Super takes place right at the very end of Boo Saga.
Oh, okay, that's awesome.
Like right after Boo. Well, actually, there's an epilogue of Dragon Ball Z that takes place 10 years after the Boo Saga, where Goten and Trunks are like teenagers, and Gohan's kid is like a kid now, like grown up, and
Videl?
No, Videl's his the wife, and
right.
Gohan's kid Pan.
There we go.
Is
sorry, I couldn't remember.
like I don't know, 3 or 4 years old. And it's like the last 2 or 3 episodes of Dragon Ball Z where they kind of have like an epilogue, and everyone's like happy and everything's, they live happily ever after. So this Dragon Ball Super squeezes in between the epilogue and the very end of Boo Saga. So so Pan is like at first not born, and then he's like newly born, and then so it's like right at this time.
Okay. That's kind of cool, but you're not having a good time.
No. I don't know how to explain why. It's like totally different than Z. The tone and pacing and quality of animation, all greatly out of whack, in my opinion.
Okay.
And, well, the animation critique is not my opinion. It just is a fact that it's not very well animated. So that sucks. The coolest part about watching Z was like cell animation, like really good like fights and like all this fluid like cool animation and colors. It's like, oh, this is great. And the new one is just like, okay, this kind of looks like a cell shaded video game. It's not very good.
Oh, that's a bummer. Now, there are movies, like, I know there are movies that take place in the Dragon Ball Super timeline. Have you been watching those?
No, I'm not. I don't know about all the movies, but from what I researched, I didn't watch. So I haven't watched any of the movies, but from what I researched, there was a movie that kicked off this whole Dragon Ball Super thing in the first place. Like, there was like the original canon movie that came out, like, I don't know. I'm getting this all. I don't know the year at all, so I don't want to say. But it's like, I don't know, when did this even come out?
20XX.
20XX. 2016, 2014.
Okay.
One of these times in the mid to late 2000s, there was the movie that was Dragon Ball Super, like Battle of Gods or something. And that was like the very beginning of this whole thing. And then the subsequent anime and or also the manga at the same time was kicked off because of this sort of like renewed interest in the Dragon Ball franchise.
Okay.
And so I believe the movie like predated it all and then like kind of kicked it off. So no, I didn't watch any of the movies. I just started directly with the anime. My biggest complaint is just like the tone has shifted significantly, and it's a little bit too wacky and not
okay.
Like, I already know that Dragon Ball is kind of wacky, but it was like lovably wacky.
Yeah, and it was always kind of wacky, but also nestled in like some pretty serious stakes. I mean, if you think back to the first time the Dragon Balls are used, I mean, they, at least I think Stacy can correct me in the comments or like charge me $5 for correction corners. But like, you know, Oolong gets a pair of panties, but he's also stopping like Lord Pilaf from taking over the world.
Right.
So it's like there's big stakes, but there's also like these punchlines.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like comedy. The whole thing is kind of like not satire, but like this is like lighthearted comedy with like serious elements, which I get, and that's fine. Z takes a more of a like, they kind of forget that they're supposed to be comedy. And the tone,
Z's a little,
the tone gets
serious.
a little bit too serious, and then they throw in some like absurd parts, like Boo is dangerous and bad and evil, and the stakes are high, but also like he eats candy. I'm like, okay, he turns people into candy. It's like, all right.
The house that Boo built is like my favorite episode of DBZ.
So like all this is fine, it's cool. All the characters remain like believable in their what they are up to the entire time. Like they don't really change. But in Super, like, I don't know, Vegeta becomes like, I don't know how to say, like a punchline of himself. Like they treat,
that sucks.
he's just like, I don't know. It's just, it becomes like silly, like a kid's version of silliness, and not like what they would do as characters.
Gotcha.
And I was like, well, this sucks. Like, it's just like not good anymore. I mean, I'm doing a really bad job explaining what I mean, but
that's okay. I think maybe it would behoove us to invite Stacy from Fujoshi Trash Talk in Real Japan on to have a conversation with you about DBZ and Dragon Ball Super.
I hope that she can have a like a fair and balanced conversation. And not just like a defensive like, oh, it was good for the time, or like the audience isn't, you're not the target audience, or some kind of thing like that.
It's true. For folks that don't know, Stacy is a you could probably say that Stacy's a super fan of Dragon Ball.
She's definitely, she's not a GT fan or a Z fan,
no,
but a super fan.
And like legit creds on the super fan-ness. But like listeners will find out why I'm saying this, but I'm a little burned out on shonen shows, so I'm not going to follow you on this one.
That's fine. This is literally my going to bed show. So I choose things that I don't really care a lot about. And then sometimes I get surprised and I start caring about them a lot. But this wasn't one of those times. It was a nice trip down Nostalgia Boulevard to watch, like, you know, the Saiyan Saga and Frieza Saga again. I was like, oh yeah, this is actually cool. And then Android Saga, I'm like, it's getting a little ridiculous. And then Boo Saga, I'm like, I don't think he knows how to write a story. And then with Super, I'm like, he definitely doesn't know how to write a story. This is garbage tier level.
Poor guy.
Like just like storytelling. Dragon Ball, if Dragon Ball is like the pinnacle, like Super is just like as bad as Dragon Ball is good.
Oh damn.
Where I don't know.
That's not
it
good.
Reminds me of like those like C grade movies that came out in the 90s that we got as kids.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's just like, this is just kind of stupid, and I don't know. The overall like plot should be good if you like list out the points. But the way it's carried out is just like not fun to watch, in my opinion.
Okay. I gotcha. It's very interesting. Now, did you watch last question on Dragon Ball. Did you watch Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Z Kai?
I started watching Dragon Ball Z and I got bogged down into filler and was like, oh yeah, Kai came out, huh? So I switched over to that.
Nice. Now, is Dragon Ball Kai, is it just edited?
Yeah.
or is it reanimated?
A little bit of both. It's mostly edited, but they reanimate like very slightly some stuff to kind of like help with continuity, and then they edit. They sort of censor, which is something I don't like, but they censor out some of the blood. It's not as gory. They like bloody fights are now like fights with some less blood and more scratches.
Ooh.
So it looks so you're like, okay. And also they like digitally make it so the strobe effects don't happen as much, so it's not flashing lights all over the place.
Okay,
that's about it. I thought I was gonna be more annoyed with it, but I'm like, no, the time you save and the pacing issues that are fixed and the lack of filler makes it worth it to watch.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Okay, that's cool.
There's also a new soundtrack.
Anything else?
With Kai in the original. So if you like the old soundtrack, you won't get to hear it, which is kind of a bummer. I was part of the reason I wanted to rewatch it all in Japanese was to hear the original soundtrack, because we got the Toonami like hard rock heavy metal version.
Dragon.
Yeah, and I was like, the tone is so much different when you watch it in Japanese, because it's more like Dragon Ball, kind of like upbeat kind of music the whole time.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so that's pretty much all I've been watching. Oh yeah, and another little show that I found called Odd Taxi.
Odd Taxi. What a gem. Holy crap. Now you emphatically recommended the show to me. And I was like, yeah, I'll do this. I'll watch this. And boy, howdy, is it the best thing I've seen in a year?
Yeah.
Like just hands down.
Pretty much. Describing it as a gem is pretty apt, because I really randomly found it just by digging.
Oh, nice.
I just like got a wild hair and decided to look at the chart for this current season. I was like, I don't know anything that's happening right now. I'm gonna look at the chart and see what's interesting. And I was scrolling through the chart and I was like, boring. Odd Taxi, huh? Looks kind of interesting. I see there's a walrus man, and that's it. And so I'm gonna try it. So I watched the first episode and was just like, holy shit, this was a cool show. It was way cooler than I thought it was gonna be, and it just gets even better and better every time you keep watching it.
Every episode is better than the last. Like,
it got me at the intro. As soon as I saw the intro, I was like, all right, this is going to be cool. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a good show, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're going to do a full episode on it, so we're not going to dive into it right now. But for folks in the States, it's on Crunchyroll. It's a 13-episode series. Fantastic. Don't look anything up about it. Mute the hashtag Odd Taxi on Twitter. Just watch it. It's so good.
You got to go into it blind, and I did. I went into it completely blind. I was just like, "What a good show!" Like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
All I knew about it was that it was a mystery, and it was called Odd Taxi.
Yep, that's all you need to know. That's literally it.
It's about a taxi driver. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to be just like, kind of like Bartender or something, where the taxi driver like just talks to random people, and it's like their life story, and it's like one-offs. No, it's like a legit cool show. It's gonna be. It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, I had the same. I honestly had the same thought. It's funny. I literally thought, oh, I wonder if this is gonna be like Bartender.
Which, I mean, I like Bartender. So that's why it even intrigued me to watch it in the first place. It was like, oh, a show like that is still kind of rare, so I'm gonna give it a try. Yeah. But what I got was even better.
And I guess the other way to pitch it to people, especially people who might be listening to this show, it's an anime about adults doing adult things, which is like, you'd think a really low bar, but that's like often one of the highest bars to clear for an anime, and like the storyline.
Yeah.
Adult characters, adult situations, fantastic. Pause the show, go watch it.
Yeah, I really want to talk about that more, but we'll do an episode about that next.
We got to do it deserves literally like its own mini podcast where we're just like, we're going to break down every episode of Odd Taxi. But no, we'll do a full episode on it.
Yeah. It was so annoying though, because I started watching it when it hadn't finished its run yet. So I got up until like the last 2 episodes before I could finish it. I was just like, oh, how's it going to end? And then then the ending came. I was like,
oh, so good.
Yeah, good stuff. But anyway, the real reason we're here today is not to talk about the Olympics or Odd Taxi, but the other grand endeavor that I recently finished that you followed in my footsteps was the saga
you were an inspiration.
Of the true future Hokage himself, Naruto Uzumaki, and his journey.
Yeah, I was trying to think of the 4 Kids intro, but I blocked it out of my mind.
I don't remember it at all either.
Yeah. So we've talked about it a little bit in the last few episodes. Laven, you watched all of Naruto and Naruto Shippuden.
Yes.
And I have finished 700 chapters of Naruto, the manga.
I'm proud of you.
Honestly, it wasn't hard. And that's kind of like foreshadowing what I'm going to have to say about the series. But when we were talking about wanting to do this episode, and I was like, okay, let's see how long it is. Okay, it's 700 chapters. If I read like 20 chapters a day, I could have it finished in this amount of time. And I think I finished it in like 3 weeks. And
that's really quick.
Almost killed my brain.
That's so fast. That's faster than I could watch the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I read 90 chapters. I read the last 90 chapters in like 2 days.
Wow.
And literally I had trouble sleeping that night because I couldn't stop thinking about Naruto. Like for some reason, my brain was just like replaying some like final scenarios in it.
Okay.
And I was just like, oh God, this is wrong. I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning wearing a Naruto headband and I'm so screwed.
All right, well, good.
Oh shoot, that reminds me.
I was going to say, I'm glad that this is like proof positive that we are related by blood, because I had a very similar experience while I was watching it. I was like, normally, like, especially while watching Dragon Ball Super this last little while, it's hard for me because I watch it while I'm going to sleep at night. I feel like you went away.
No, I'm here. I just remembered that I forgot to put on my Naruto headband, and so I just like grabbed it out of a drawer and I'm wearing it now.
Okay. Well, that's kind of a good sight gag for a podcast, I feel.
Oh, right. I'll send you a photo.
Yeah, send me a photo so I can put it on the show notes. Where was I?
Sorry.
I was doing the same. So yeah, I was doing the same thing, and when I'm watching Dragon Ball Super or other shows, I sometimes can't get past 1 episode per night. Like I'll start it, and I'll fall asleep. Nice.
For our listeners at home, I just sent Laven the photo of me wearing a Naruto headband,
now,
which I'll explain after you give your story.
So I sometimes fall asleep while watching Dragon Ball. Like there'll be like 2 or 3 days in a row where like I put on the episode and I fall asleep in the middle, and then the next day I try the same episode again and also fall asleep again. But with Naruto, most of the time I went to bed like 4 hours after I had planned to go to bed. Like it'll be like 3 a.m. and I'm like, shit, I need to sleep. I laid down at 11 and I need to like go to bed now. Like constantly that happened.
Yeah, I definitely had that experience too, where I'd be like, okay, I need to do my 20 chapters. And then I'd be like, well, I can't just leave in the middle of this arc. And so then it'd be like another hour or two. And I'd be like, oh God, I'm going to be sore in the morning.
Yeah, I didn't have a headband to wear, but I did. So like in Japan, taking off and on your shoes is paramount, in culture and just daily life. And I constantly was seeing their cool shoes and was like, those would work here. I could wear those around. It'd be pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And then I searched Naruto shoes to see if there was like somebody who makes them. And I only found ones for little kids. And I was like, okay, that's enough. That's all I need to know. I don't need to be doing this. I'm an adult man. And I'm done with it now.
So we're going to assume a certain level of knowledge for our listeners, because Naruto, which is a manga series that ran in the Weekly Shonen Jump, Japan's most popular manga magazine. It ran from 1999 to 2014, 700 chapters, was adapted into an anime series, technically 2 anime series that together were 720 episodes, running from 2002 to 2017. Naruto is the 4th best-selling manga series ever. It's sold over 250 million individual volumes. And that's of the 72 volumes that it was produced. So this is, people argue all the time, like the big 3 or the Mount Rushmore of anime or whatever, all bullshit topics. But Naruto, like, for a generation of fans, is kind of defining or ubiquitous, unavoidable. So I imagine folks understood when I said I had to get my Naruto headband. But just in case people don't know, I can paint a picture. Naruto is a manga series about ninja, and ninjas of different clans and villages who wear different headbands. And so I just happened to have found a discarded Naruto headband at a convention many years ago. And in retrospect, really should have turned it into Lost and Found. But
you're like, no, fuck that. I
just took it because now I own it. And now I'm wearing it, and it came full circle. I kept it in my movie drawer for probably 3 years.
Yeah, so probably like, I don't know, that disgruntled person who lost their stuff at Comic-Con and never came again. They would have probably just grown up to throw it away in a couple of years anyway. So what you've done is really a service to this, I don't know, rare earth metal that they had to like mine out of the ground. Instead of being thrown into the landfill, you're using it now as a prop.
This is definitely coated plastic.
Oh, damn. Okay, well.
But yeah, so it's like a metal plate with the village symbol in the center of it. In this case, it's the Konoha Gure Gakure.
Konoha Gakure.
Yeah, Konoha for short. We'll talk about the manga translation because there's a lot of redundant things, so I might say weird things. Konoha Village, but it's the leaf, the famous leaf, and so that's what's on my head right now. And we'll definitely tweet out a photo, and I'll probably tweet out a photo at the end of this recording just as a teaser. I don't even know where to begin. Well,
we'll start at the beginning.
Okay, let me just give some quick Wikipedia notes on Naruto so that people understand when we start talking about things.
People don't know what Naruto is. I really hope we're not just filling someone in where they're like, "Oh, I always wanted to watch Naruto and never heard of that before."
Well, if you think about it,
I don't want to think about this. Whatever you're gonna say.
Well, okay, never mind.
I don't need to contemplate my own mortality any more than I already do.
Sure. Well, here's the thing. So listeners who have attended a convention in the last, let's say, 3 years, maybe probably 5 years, honestly. The last 5 years, you've definitely seen My Hero Academia cosplayers. You've seen your Dekus, your Bakugos. When Laven and I were growing up, there was always Naruto cosplayers. That was 50 to 75% of the cosplayers.
Yeah.
Were a character from Naruto if they were not Naruto or Sasuke, the other major character in the series.
Yeah, I once cosplayed as a character from Naruto.
You did? That's one of my favorite photos. It might be is it my Twitter background photo?
I was a random background character from Naruto. And as a 11-year-old, I thought that was so clever and edgy.
I think it's still really clever.
It's like,
It's no longer. I have the trigger shirt as my background photo. I'm sorry.
oh.
Yeah, like Naruto was huge. It's a manga series. The manga creator, who we'll probably talk about, is a guy named Masashi Kishimoto. Kishimoto Sensei, as Laven corrected me earlier. And like it was the biggest thing ever. Like when it was coming out, like it was just dominating.
I thought it was.
When did you?
Oh, I was gonna say I believed it was. It did become the greatest thing ever. Yes, but it was kind of a slow burn, in my opinion. Like from the time it got put into Shonen Jump to the time when would-be anime fans and current anime fans like got a hold of a Shonen Jump, I think it took a little while for it to like get big. No, am I wrong? Am I just like, you're like, what are you talking about?
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think I would have to like really dig into the Japan side of it. It was one of those things.
Oh yeah, are you talking about like globally or like within American fandom?
Within American fandom, like because I remember.
Yeah, I can only go from my own personal memory, and I think I cut you off, but you were gonna say like, how did you get into Naruto?
Yeah, that's my big question, because like I think that'll track, and then we'll be able to explain kind of how it came to this, what it was like in the States when it was big.
Sure. Okay. So, well, to answer that question, you have to go way back into the times, back when Kenny and I used to have family reunions. Every so often, we have family reunions in Canada. And so on one of our road trips to Canada, we happened to go together this time. And you brought with you, well, I think 3 copies of Shonen Jump. And they were like...
Was that me?
Yes. Yes. This is 100% you. This is all your fault, why I like Naruto.
Oh, damn. Okay.
You had 3 copies of Shonen Jump, and I don't think they were in sequential order. It was like... 2 of them were in sequential
Probably
order,
not.
and 1 of them was not. And I think you got them at the newsstand. It was not a subscription, but you had like, and they were of like the original ones, like the first few ones. It wasn't issue 1, but it was like issues like 3, 4, and 7 or something like that. And so you brought those with you, and I had never seen this like that before whatsoever. I don't think that was my first experience with manga. It might be. That might be the very first time I saw or touched manga. Also. Okay. So you brought that with you as our reading material for the 2-day journey
for the
driving to Canada.
Yeah, a long car ride to Canada.
And so I like poured over those because you had already read them a bunch. So I think what happened was 2 of them you already had. And then you got the newest one for you to read also. Something like that.
That feels right. Because I remember... I always feel like the need to set the stage for listeners. Shonen Jump is a paper magazine. And not... like... We don't have these in the States. And honestly... Fans of our age are going to remember what these are like, but newer people probably have like no context unless they've been to Japan,
which still
or been to a Japanese bookstore.
Yeah, they still have them in Japan.
Yeah, but these are like thick, hundreds of pages magazines, and they're printed on kind of cheaper paper, like almost newspaper-ish paper. They're really meant to just be read and then recycled. And Weekly Shonen Jump will consolidate like a number of series that are being published weekly. And Naruto is one of them. And like in the States, Viz, which is still a manga publishing company that exists today, they tried to just replicate Shonen Jump, and they would translate the whole magazine for release.
But instead of it being weekly, it was not. It was monthly.
Yeah.
And they would consolidate the 4 weekly editions into one.
Oh.
That's why you got multiple chapters in one Shonen Jump in the US.
Okay, that makes sense.
But it was also not.
It's been so long since I've.
Yeah, it wasn't at the same time. I don't understand why they did this. Because they were publishing it in Shonen Jump before they actually published the individual volume. So they weren't waiting on the Japanese release, but they were still like following this kind of weird model where they would put like a few chapters in. So I think it was just like whatever they had done, but it was definitely more than one chapter. But it was fewer series is why they could do that as well.
Yeah, totally. Wow, I don't remember that because I remember you eventually got a subscription to Shonen
Well, this
Jump,
is
right?
directly as a direct consequence of this Canada trip, because I didn't know what Shonen Jump was, and then I suddenly became aware and took that. And as I always did when I visited my good old cousin Kenny with internet and city connections, like, this is a thing. And I went home with all this information, and I like looked up the crap out of it using my own methods, and figured out I could like get a subscription. And I asked for that for my birthday or something, and my grandma got it for me.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. When as a quick aside, there's a new they're doing a new series for Shaman King, and I think that we should definitely like make a point to revisit Shaman King and then maybe explore that. I had a friend in growing up in elementary and middle school who his family was from Laos, so they would always shop at like the Asian grocery store, and he had some Japanese volumes of Weekly Shonen Jump.
Whoa.
And that's the first time I was ever exposed to it. My third grade teacher like let us pretend for like a week that we were actually reading it, and then eventually she was like, okay, knock it off, you got to read a real book. But that's when I was exposed to like, oh, look at these comics. And then I think probably what happened is like, I'm trying to think if like if the magazine section of a grocery store carried Shonen Jump, or if I had to be at like a Borders or a Barnes and Noble or something.
No. Before I subscribed, that's how I got my first initial ones. I would have my mom drive me when she was getting groceries, I would put it in the cart. And I didn't have a subscription for the first few, I don't know, months after that Canada trip, but I would go because it's only monthly, so like it's pretty easy to remember to once in the month go get a Shonen Jump. So I would go and buy it at the grocery store.
I wonder what they must have been. It must have been like the initial. Your memory's a little clearer on this than mine, but I'm gonna say it's probably the initial few first chapters of Naruto, and then in my mind, probably part of the Zabuza arc.
No, it was when they were doing their initial like getting the bells.
Yeah,
they were doing that section in the ones you had.
Oh, okay, so they were that's it. So then I imagine probably like the intro Naruto learning the doppelganger technique, and then because I remember,
yeah, that sounds right.
Oh God, more. Well, if we can't be honest on a podcast that no one listens to, where can we be honest? I remember like reading back through Naruto, like that initial chapter, and he learns like the doppelganger technique, and that's like one of Naruto's like signature moves is his ability to create physical clones of himself for fighting. And I remember I used to like hang out in RPG chat rooms on like Yahoo chat rooms. And that was like my go-to. What was that?
You say you as if like, oh, I don't know what that is. I've never done that either.
I'm just trying to save you from this. Only one of us needs to die of embarrassment at the end of this episode.
All right, fair enough. Go on.
So like I remember I would like role play a character that basically did the exact same thing. And like rereading it, I was like mortified to have that memory unearthed.
Yeah, you know, back in the
Yeah.
time with Yahoo chat rooms, paragraph RP only. Neopets
Meet in the
as well
tavern.
was also pretty good
Yeah.
for that. But it's okay because we were 10 years old.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's totally legit. It's okay to
Sure.
be Chinibyo before you're in 8th grade. And then you gotta snap out of it.
True. Yeah, I think they shut down the Yahoo chat rooms by the time we were old enough to really not be in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but our onlineness totally evolved into
It got worse.
It got worse. It's like we're not going to be Chinibyo, but we're going to be entirely elitist about our anime consumption now. Because
Oh hell yeah, too cool for school here. Boy, okay, so I read Naruto. I read the manga version on the weekly show or the Shonen Jump app, which I've talked about before. It's $2 a month. I hadn't used it in months. I definitely got all my money back reading Naruto. So how did you watch the series?
Yes.
And so that's a lot. And now with me reading the manga, I was like, that's source material. Like it's uncut, no filler. Now, how did you watch every episode or did you only stick to the canon content?
So yeah, that's a good question because I initially set out to watch all of it, and then I forgot how notorious the filler is in Naruto. So I quickly was like, no, I'm not doing this. And I found a guide that like says which episodes are canon, which episodes are mixed canon, and which episodes are only filler and are totally skippable. So I skipped everything that wasn't mixed or true canon. So some of the mixed canon ones were a little bit confusing because I skipped all the filler, and there's a couple of filler arcs that have like some anime only character that they like help for something. And then in the mixed canon episodes, that character is there for some reason, and they just treat him as if he's like a totally known entity. And I'm like, who's this guy? But it's just, it was inconsequential. Like it didn't matter because I needed to know the like big story unfoldings for that episode anyway. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I do remember there's a weird moment in the manga where I think filler bleeds into it because Naruto loves ramen. And so he goes to this ramen cart, Ichiran, I think.
Yeah. Sounds right.
Is his favorite ramen. And there's an episode where there's a chapter where he's talking with the owner of this ramen shop and he's referring to the different apprentices. And I don't think they've ever come up before. And so there must be some filler in the anime where they maybe came up. And so this was like an homage to that.
Well, I didn't watch the filler, so I don't know. But there were times where there would be different people running being there. And I think, they just say like, yeah, this person is apprenticing here. That does ring true for me as well.
Yeah. Boy, let's talk about maybe, I think a lot of people might not know what Naruto is about. Or, well, maybe they'll think they know what it's about, but maybe they don't actually, they have like a surface level understanding. Because on the surface, you're like, this is a ninja manga. It is about ninjas fighting ninjas. And while that's not wrong, it's that's a way oversimplification of what actually occurs in this show.
First of all,
and manga.
Take out of your mind what you imagine what a ninja is, because it's not that. It's not that at all. I would say like the ninja is more like synonymous with like our modern day special operations in the military. It's like that. But like, let's say like all the nations of the world don't have real standing army militaries and they just fight by like sending their spec ops at each other. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Very true. So Naruto takes place kind of like in a parallel world, heavily influenced by Japanese mythology. And it's kind of like a big continent where you have a bunch of nations. There's like one big body of water that separates a few of them, and then the others are surrounded. I started to think that it would have made more sense if he had just said, like, if he had just shaped it like the island of Japan, because there's certain things where they like travel between nations and it happens really fast. I'm like, oh, if these were just prefectures or like old domains, it kind of would have made sense.
Yeah, they like describe it as the world, but all the maps that you see is like a regional map. So it doesn't even, like, the maps don't even show a sphere, so you don't even know like how big the real actual planet they're on even is. So it could be, and it's never like addressed, so it could be that they're in a localized region, and like somewhere else on the Earth or Earth-like planet there is something else going on. But yeah, I agree. They're in a very localized area for sure.
I think a big misconception is that people are going to look at Naruto and maybe think, I think they're going to think two things that are wrong. First and foremost, they're going to see ninja, so they're going to assume feudal Japan, which is definitely not where this is set. And as the story unfolds, it's actually more and more clear that Naruto basically takes place in, I mean, kind of an equivalent to modern times. Yeah. It's a little steampunky, but it's really, honestly, it's just like maybe someone's been too caught up in ninja shenanigans, so they haven't invented the laptop yet.
It's like
there's definitely a computer somewhere.
Well, no, in Naruto there's no like computers or phones or anything, but there is electricity. So it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like Taisho era Japan. There's like it's like people wear traditional looking clothes, but they have like modern stuff where it counts, like electricity and the newspapers and things like that. Milk.
Yeah. And the other misconception is that like it's going to be like a grounded, realistic, like weapon based or martial arts based combat. Because one of the things that really started to surprise me as I read more and more Naruto is that I would honestly describe it as the same type of high fantasy as something like Lord of the Rings. Where, like, as the series progresses, it gets super magical, super, like, the mythology of Naruto becomes like very complex but also consistent.
I would argue
there is
that it becomes like almost sci-fi.
That's fair. That's another way to look at it. I mean, that's the kind of the statement of as technology progresses, it becomes harder to distinguish it from magic.
Well, no, like when they explain like how the magic got there, it's, well, yeah, I get.
Oh, you're talking Boruto stuff.
No. At the end of like the whole tree and the whole thing with the tree and like how the tree came.
Yeah.
And it came from somewhere else. I don't know. It is magic, but it's like,
yeah,
it's like explained. It's not like
yeah,
I'm a wizard and I can do ninjutsu. It's like, well, humans couldn't do that until this weird tree came. So it like totally makes sense. Like it's like explained in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the interior, there is interior logic and it's consistent, but it's also like
supernatural.
Like there is a god and the god bequeaths a son and the son brings like jutsu to the population, and then that son has two heirs. Yeah. And one heir goes off and becomes the Uchiha, and one heir goes off and becomes the Sento.
Yeah, it's like watching. It's like a mythology story, like a
yeah, it's crazy and also amazing. Like on at one level, I was like, okay, this is shenanigans. Actually, one of the I have a collection of screenshots that I saved from my favorite panels, and I think one of my favorite panels is from near the end. There's this as Naruto develops, it careens into the fourth great Shinobi War, and at one point, Sakura, boy, after this we gotta review the characters really fast. One of the main characters says, this person shows up and one of this character observes, at this point, I'm tired of being surprises. I'm tired of being surprised.
yeah.
Or, sorry, the line is, guess so, since you're levitating, at this point, I'm tired of being surprised. And it's like, I wasn't tired of being surprised, but it was one of those things where I'm just like, I feel that fatigue where it's like,
well,
all these mysteries are being unveiled and you're like, oh, like all these answers are being provided. And I just think people should be prepared and like, it's not going to be the beginning chapters of Naruto are like really gritty and the whole series overall is pretty gory. But it's also like for people who like things like complex science fiction, I totally agree with that comparison. Or complex fantasy. I think Naruto hits on all those levels.
I guess maybe fantasy or like, I don't know, supernatural sci-fi would be like how I would think of it. It doesn't take place in space, so that's why it doesn't seem like sci-fi.
True. But there is like, there's two characters that are like doing crazy science experiments the entire series.
The whole thing is they're like trying to figure out how this like chakra even works, because it seems like it's a mystery to everyone, and they just sort of treat it like magic because they don't understand it, but they're trying. Like some people are trying to understand it.
Ooh,
and then
that's a really good point.
And it just like devolves into that. So it's like it is all explained because they have like some rudimentary knowledge with textbooks. Like, well, the chakra is in like these points in your hand, and we figured that out, and you can do this and this and this with it. And there's like medical people and personnel and everything.
Yeah, they've definitely broken it down into a great science, and that's kind of. It almost seems like to a large extent society exists in peace, and then all of the conflict and bloodshed, like you said, is carried out in covert ninja operations. This like spec ops, conflicts between nations, and so it does seem like because every nation has a hidden village, and every hidden village maintains a force of ninja to carry out the military operations of the nation. There's a neutral nation that has a force of samurai that come into play eventually. Although I kind of wish that they got more than one.
I know,
dude. He's really cool, but I wish that he had like his own team as opposed to just a faceless army of samurai. I kind of want to like zoom back out.
I like the flashbacks of that nation because it's like before they get the gas masks, they are like legit samurai, and then the like an attack happens and they're like, well, I guess we need to be better suited up.
Well, yeah, it's that the shoot. He's not a Kazekage. He's a Namikage. The water Kage from the village hidden in the mist.
That's like that village is so fucked
because he's like a yeah. It is.
It's my favorite. Every time something like some shit goes down, I'm like, yeah, it's probably Mist Village.
Yeah. That's so. When we were young, how far did you get into Naruto before dropping it?
I was reading it actually, as you just did. I never watched the anime, which is a reason why I wanted to do it this time. But I got to right after, like, the first time skip. So, like, the big Sasuke and Naruto battle happens, And Naruto comes back, and then it's like 3 years later, and he's older. And then right around there is when I ran out of scanlations. So like I was caught up to where they were in the real life. So then I stopped, and I guess I just sort of lost interest, and I started getting older, and I was just like, I don't, and people started making fun of Naruto a lot. And as I mentioned before, we were quite the anime elitists at the time, and I was just like, you know what, that's kind of for kids, and I'm beyond that, and I don't need to watch Naruto anymore. So I think that's basically what happened.
Yeah, and so I did the same thing. In terms of reading it, I don't remember if I think I made an effort in college to try and read it, and that's when I made it to the college or high school, and that's when I made it to the time skip, which is kind of called the end of part one, preteen Naruto.
What a mistake that was, not finishing it, because now that I'm seeing it, I'm like, I think even back then I would have really loved how the story turned out.
Oh, absolutely. And then and I just kind of remember, like, I think definitely at the time, Naruto was something that was so popular that there was no way we were going to buy into it. Yeah. Or at least persist in our pursuit of it.
Which was, in retrospect, really stupid, because you know what we did? You know what we did, like, buy into was Full Metal Alchemist, which reached a very similar amount of popularity. And that didn't stop me from being like, well, this is for, like, normal people. I didn't think that at the time about Full Metal Alchemist. The fuck is wrong with us?
Well,
12-year-old logic.
Oh, that opens the door to maybe convincing you to watch Brotherhood. But
I don't need to watch Brotherhood because I already watched the one that came out. Okay,
that's what I thought, and then I watched Brotherhood, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is so much better."
That's what everybody.
Okay, that's a different.
That's what everybody says. And Jack took the bullet for me and said, "No, it's not worth it. Don't worry about it." So I was like, all right.
Okay. To topic for a different day. We'll get there eventually. So I think a lot of people are in somewhat of a similar boat where they maybe have tried to read Naruto, and they've probably accomplished up through I want to use the official name, or at least the what would be called the Land of Waves, which is considered a prologue. Holy crap. I guess that's true. So
wait, what how is
Naruto,
that defined?
Yeah. I'm looking at a list of like
arcs,
and they call it a prologue, which I
when
think
does Land of Waves
actually makes a little
end? Like, you mean when
I'm going to say Land of Waves is when they come back from their mission to the Land of Waves. Zabuza, yeah. After
That's
the end
the
of
prologue?
that.
Okay, cool.
Which kind of makes sense in retrospect. Even though that covers like 70
I thought that was
chapters.
like legit Naruto. Like, I remember when I was reading Naruto the very first time, my assumption for how the whole rest of Naruto was going to go is like they be a team forever, and they just like keep getting these crazier and crazier missions, and that's it. Like, I thought that they're gonna like go out on these missions, face a big bad guy, come back to their base camp of the village, and then like do that over and over again. It's like not even what happens at all.
No. So that kind of gives maybe if we're like trying to tempt people to read it, that's, I think, really should hook people in, and it kind of sets the stage. So Naruto is the story of Naruto Uzumaki, who is a kid of the Konoha village hidden in the leaves. And he's an orphan. He has no parents. He really doesn't have anyone. He has a teacher that kind of looks after him. But you know, it really seems like he lives alone, and he doesn't have anyone. His parents died in some mysterious
How many
incident.
Spoilers do we want to give
but
on this? None?
Let's keep it light. I don't think we should give too many spoilers. I just want to kind of introduce the characters of Team 7, and then and then talk about our favorite characters.
I have a bone to pick with some people based on what you just said.
We should. I definitely want to have that conversation. So Naruto Uzumaki, he finally is able to graduate from the Ninja Academy, pass the final test, and earn his place on a team of Genin, which is kind of the lowest rank of ninja.
Genin.
Genin.
Yeah. Chunin. Genin.
Oh, right, Genin. So he's placed on a team with Sasuke Uchiha, who is the last living member of the Uchiha clan in the Konoha village. He's dark, brooding, literally the crush of every anime loving woman of our generation. And then Sakura. What is Sakura's last name? You know?
Sakura,
okay, quick aside.
No, it does exist.
I don't know.
I said this exact same thing to Kaori like a few weeks ago. I was like, "What is Sakura's last name?" And she actually said it. And I was like, oh, "Okay."
Yeah, which is so, like,
I don't know.
A story where family and parents are so important, and I don't think you ever meet Sakura's parents, who are both probably alive, because she never has like a bonding moment with whatchamahoots. She never has like a bonding moment with Naruto or Sasuke over being an orphan, so she definitely has parents, but they never come up, they're never shown. Yeah, that's just a thing.
I'm looking it up now, and
so
her parents are shown in filler in the movie, but that's it.
Cool. That counts. So Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura are on a team under the supervision of Kakashi, who is a high-level ninja. He always wears a mask. You never see his face. And he generally keeps his headband covering one of his eyes. So that's Team 7. And that's the core of Naruto. This bond between Sasuke, Naruto, and Sakura, and Kakashi defines a lot of the action that happens, the overall arc of the story. And I think a lot of people should, if you want to give Naruto a try, like read through this prologue, where they're hired, the team is hired for a very low level mission, to escort an architect, like a bridge designer, to the land of waves and watch over him while he makes a bridge. It turns out that this guy is like wanted by some big mob boss that's trying to take over the land of waves. Yeah. And he hires one of the 7 deadly swordsmen, which for a while is just like kind of this offhand thing that doesn't actually matter. But eventually you get to meet all the other seven deadly swordsmen, which is like one of my favorite things in this whole series.
Mist, they're one of my favorite villages, just like how batshit insane their story is.
Yes. So the village hidden in the mist is probably the worst place to grow up, because they for the longest time believed in like just psychologically torturing their ninja trainees to like rid them of emotion and create perfect fighting machines.
Okay, well, I mean,
yeah,
the US, I mean, Leaf Village also has their fair share of doing the exact same thing.
Sure. The Foundation does that too. Is it the Foundation?
Foundation.
Yeah. But people should definitely read through it, because like you get Kishimoto's art gets better and better as the series goes on. Like you can track the improvement in his art, and the art and the improvement in the skill of his assistants and all of that. But that first major arc of Naruto, like so many iconic scenes, like Sasuke covered in blood, full of like ninja weapons, just classic fights, like Kakashi thunder punching through someone. Like, it's so good.
As far as I can tell, I thought I read this, but I don't have any proof, so this might just be what I think. But I I thought that whole prologue part, when it was coming out at the time, was sort of meant to be a one-off, like little miniature story as a proof of concept of Naruto in general, and that's why it was like that. Because in case the manga didn't get continued, it like is a complete thing.
Yeah. Okay, that makes total sense. And I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I remember sending you a text being like, I really wish that we would have gotten more missions for Team 7 before the story kind of hits the major overall arcing plot that'll take us to the end. If you want to
watch the anime, they do that with all the filler episodes. They have a lot of... Some of the filler is not bad. I will say that. Like, some of the filler is like, okay, that was interesting. But they do that. That's most of what the filler is them going on missions.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Maybe I should check out some of that filler. But, so what ends up being the major story of Naruto is the estrangement of Naruto and Sasuke. Sasuke is he's, as I said, he's the last living member of the Uchiha clan who possess a very powerful form of ocular jutsu, which becomes super important through the series, called the Sharingan. And he gets pursued by one of the first and what seems like the big baddie, Orochimaru. And Orochimaru wants to use Sasuke's body as his new body in this like ploy for immortality. And so Orochimaru coaxes Sasuke away. And so Sasuke abandons Team 7 and leaves the village of Konoha in pursuit of power because he wants power to be able to avenge his family who are all murdered by his brother. And then the whole focus of Naruto becomes Naruto's dogged pursuit of bringing Sasuke back to Team 7 and recovering his friend. There's so much more to it.
That's so simple.
But you really got to read it.
Yeah, that is all true. But there's a lot more nuance that you can't really get into without...
There's so much... Like, there's just too much to cover.
Yeah.
In terms of the overall story. Like, it gets nuts. And it's also like... It's insane to me how Kishimoto lays the groundwork for the world and the overall plot, and like where he wants it to go. Like, I was shocked. One of the first screenshots I took from Naruto is like Orochimaru appears a few chapters before he's ever introduced as a background character, just kind of standing there, and you only know it's him if you've read the series before or you've seen the anime. And then there's just other things where like he puts down this like subtle foreshadowing that becomes relevant down the line. This might be a good point to talk about how the village treats Naruto, which I think if you redid the beginning, he wouldn't have it happen like this. But it is weird how the village treats Naruto in retrospect.
It's not weird how the whole village treats Naruto. Like, it totally makes sense to me. Like, how regular everyday, because it's a village. How many thousands of people live there that don't know Naruto or Naruto's like personally? But what now? A little bit spoiler here. I don't understand how the third Hokage could like let this happen. After all of what we see go down between like, because you see the whole scene unfold with the third Hokage and the fourth Hokage and Naruto's mom all go down, and he like witnesses what goes on. How is it that Naruto is allowed to just like grow up as a single infant without any like who raises him? Like how
as like a wild child.
How is that even possible? Like they're just like, well, he's got the demon in him. Nothing we can do. Like, no, that's not how they treated it at the time. So like, The best I can imagine is like I don't know, the Ambu or like watching him and making sure he doesn't like get into trouble. I don't know, but
right.
like
Yeah, I think that piece of it was developed a little later. If you've made it this far into the podcast, Naruto spoilers probably aren't your biggest concern. And probably a lot of people know that Naruto is the son of the fourth Hokage, the fourth ninja leader of the Konoha village. And his father, the fourth Hokage, Naruto does not know this. He doesn't find it out until very far into the series. Even though it's kind of obvious when you look at them side by side.
Yeah, they don't show him though for like a long time though.
Yeah. Naruto's mother was the prior vessel for this thing called the Nine-Tailed Fox. Nine-Tailed Fox Demon. And the big baddie of the series, let's call him Toby. Toby attacks her when she's about to give birth to Naruto, releases the Nine-Tailed Fox to attack Konoha. So the fourth Hokage uses some sealing jutsu that he learned from his wife, who specializes in it, to seal the Nine-Tailed Fox demon into Naruto. Technically half of it. Man, this is so complex. He seals half of the Nine-Tailed Fox in Naruto. The other half is consumed by the god of death, sealing jutsu, and then he the price of using that sealing jutsu is your soul is sealed away as well. So he dies in that process. And so yeah, it's kind of crazy. Sure, a lot of people apparently die when the Nine-Tailed Fox attacks the village. And then the funny thing is though that we also discover that like the people who contain the fox spirits or the tailed beast, which are a whole thing. There's 9 of them. Very important to the whole thing of Naruto. They're like military assets, and so kind of having him just like just wander around and like no one caring about his training so much. It's like one of those things where I'm just like, this is literally how none of the other tail beast vessels are treated.
Kind of. I mean, they are treated with disdain, but not like not for the same reason at all.
Right.
Like,
they're also like built up as assets. Like if he was in the Sand Village or the Thunder Village, or the Cloud Village.
Yeah, Cloud.
Their things don't mesh with their elements. It's weird. If he was
the village, the village is not the same as the land where the daimyo preside over.
Right. So if he was under the Thunder Hokage or the Thunder Kage, the Raikage, he would have been like trained.
Yeah, right.
Like specially trained as a in ninja, but in here he's just like basically he's like given normal training,
which doesn't make any sense. They're just like, just not telling Naruto anything about this.
Yeah. And
just let him be a wild orphan who just like gets discriminated against, and that's not gonna fuck up his anger. What are they doing?
Yeah. Okay.
You're lucky Naruto's a nice guy.
I have several questions now that we've kind of covered what the plot, like kind of the plot. Like people should just read it because the plot honestly is really cool and complex.
The plot sounds stupid and ridiculous when you just say it as facts, though.
It does. So you gotta. That's why I don't want to be like, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I would say there are very few wasted events or characters. Like the actions of characters have consequences that follow through all the way to the end. The history of the world is relevant start to finish. There's no I don't want to say no because I might be wrong, but there are stuff where it's just like they mention this little factoid and it matters way down the line. Or
Right.
this village has a history and that history matters. And there
Becomes relevant
are
later on.
characters and historical figures that factor into the overall story. And I just love that aspect of it. The kind of crazy thing about Naruto is you're like, oh, this their history must be thousands of years. It's like it maybe like 100 tops.
That's what makes it so crazy that they're just doing their best with these new powers that everyone has.
Yeah. It's crazy because it's like you start and you're just like, oh wow, there's been like Konoha Village there's been 4 Hokages. That must be like, 75 years each. The third Hokage is this really old guy, and it's like, no, really young Hokage, really young Hokage, really young Hokage dies extra young, or sorry,
And then they revert back to the third one.
revert back to the third one, and it turns out being the leader of a ninja military village, you don't live that long, and so it's just really funny that at first glance it's like, oh, maybe this is like thousands of years. It's like, no, this is like living history. Like there are people that remember the originators of this village system. Okay, I think maybe a fun topic would be, so let's start within Konoha, within like the village hidden in the leaves. Who's your favorite character?
That's difficult. Well, I don't know.
So, for example, my favorite character within Konoha is definitely Shikamaru Nara.
Yeah, I know. I knew you were gonna say that, and I was gonna be my answer as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best. Like,
He is the best.
yeah, Shikamaru is a member of Team 10. He's part of the Shikacho Ino Shikacho traditional team. So there's these 3 families in Konoha. It's the is it? So it's the Yamanaka family, it's the Akimichi family, and it's the Nara family. And they always produce these, they have like complementary skills. And so they're always assigned to the same team, and they work really well together. And so Shikamaru he's kind of a punk. But he's also like super smart. He's a genius strategist.
He's like the definition of just like super high IQ, super lazy guy.
Yeah. And the jutsu he uses is called like shadow possession. So he can,
that's the coolest one.
Yeah. If he can using like chakra, like the energy in Naruto, he can extend his shadow, and if his shadow touches someone else's, he can take control of their body. He can also eventually make like physical shadows, where his shadows can like do damage. But he has like just a great mind, and like I really like the complexity of combat in Naruto, because everybody's like a highly trained assassin, and so it's not just like, rarely do you have 2 people just punching each other to death. It's like there's moves and counter moves and strategies and plans. And Shikamaru's plans are the best.
Yeah, because he loves shogi.
Yeah. And I think he also gets like the best arc. I was trying to think about what is my favorite arc in it, and I think it's the or at least my favorite storyline is the vengeance of Asuma Sarutobi.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil things for people, but I mean it has to be. But Team 10's leader, Asuma, is killed by an evil organization known as the
Akatsuki.
Yeah. And so Shikamaru leads his teammates in kind of a pursuit, or I guess he like, they don't necessarily pursue them, but they re-encounter them again, and he takes down this immortal sadist, and it's just the best. It's so good.
He's a religious man.
Yeah, this religious nut who like can't be killed, and so Shikamaru tricks him into basically being buried alive and cut into a million pieces. It's so good.
And then he reveals why he's like part of the Nara clan.
Yeah,
because he has control over all the deer in this like special forest. And he's like, they're gonna guard anyone who tries to come in here. So you're never gonna be put back together again.
Yep. And you know, like, he's the best. Like, I almost should have said, who's your favorite character that's not Shikamaru?
yeah, he is great. And he also is cool in Boruto. And then his son is he's just the same. It's just another one.
Oh, that's tempting.
Exactly the same. It's hilarious. Like, they both play shogi together and they're like the same, and he makes strategies, and his character model is exactly the same.
That's
so
funny.
It's just like another Shikamaru.
Who does Shikamaru marry?
What's her name?
Oh,
the
Tamari
sand
from the
girl.
sand.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense. Do you have a, like, if I said not Shikamaru, who would you pick?
Yeah, so it's between, if I had to pick my favorite my favorite character from the village, it would be probably Jiraiya or Shikamaru. It's a toss-up. So
Jiraiya is really good.
Jiraiya is awesome. I love characters like him who seem like aloof and bumbling until they have to get serious, and then they're just like the most OP badass possible.
Yeah.
Like, that's like my favorite archetype of character. So
yeah, and cool. Jiraiya is considered one of the great three of Konoha. Orochimaru is the other one, and then Tsunade is the third. Yeah, I would agree. Jiraiya, I'm trying to think. Like, I might honestly say, like Might Guy, kind of. I really like him, and I think his arcs near the end, like his story near the end of the series, I really like. He's just goofy, but he's also like, he's kind of like what you said with Jiraiya, like a guy who's like a total goofball, or seems like not that threatening, but like Might Guy is the last person I'd want to encounter. Yeah,
true. Yeah, he's so lame though.
He's really lame.
Also, but he's so lame that he's cool. I like they're like ridiculous, over the top, like he's like springtime of our youth spirit. Like, it's so good.
Might Guy, it might be selling him a little short, but he's like the Ned Flanders of the village, where he's like super positive. He's not good at ninjutsu or jutsu. I don't think he can't do it. I think he can do it.
No, him and Rock Lee have the same condition.
They can't use jutsu, but he's a taijutsu, which is like the physical combat master. And
but because of the events of the world, he does have chakra, but he can't like access it,
right?
Which is the problem. But he can unlock the internal gates and like smash people apart using his taijutsu.
Yeah. And he's like super powerful. Okay, now outside of Konoha, who's your favorite good guy?
Well, I was going to add a third favorite that I was trying to decide between Jiraiya and him. He's not as well written of a character, but he's still great, which is Yamato.
Oh, totally. I wish he was in. I honestly wish he was in it more, but I'm also glad
Yeah,
that
me
he's
too.
not because he definitely would have died if he was in the series anymore.
Yeah, he's like so badass. Like he's so cool. He can just like withstand the genetic modification from Orochimaru,
Yeah,
and then just gets the wood jutsu and is just a total badass.
and
He's still a positive and good person after at the end.
and I also Orochimaru is like a crazy mad scientist and does a bunch of secret genetic experiments, and one of them is while he's still technically in the good graces of the village, he like tries to clone the first Hokage, who is like this arguably the strongest ninja ever to live.
He has these like special cells that can like interact with wood.
Yeah,
and so it makes it like really powerful.
and so Yamato is a clone, is one of those clones, and he becomes an
only one
Anbu.
that
Like
survived.
he's like a special forces like killer.
Well, yeah, because he's such a like anomaly. He doesn't
Yeah.
have a family, so he's like grows up in the Foundation.
Right. Yeah, Yamato. Oh, I didn't even think about Yamato. That's awesome. I thought you were gonna say what's his bucket? Naruto's pseudo dad.
Well, that's Jiraiya.
No. Okay, his first pseudo dad. Why can't I think of
Iruka sensei.
Iruka? Yeah. Yeah, because like he's cool too. They're all
Yeah,
good.
he's cool.
Like,
But he's not like, I don't know, he kind of goes away after a while. He doesn't really do anything.
right.
But Yamato like takes over Kakashi's role for a while, and he's
Right.
just like, "Sorry, I'm not Kakashi, you guys," and they're all kind of sad about it. And I thought Sai was going to be a really stupid character,
Mhm.
but turned out to be really cool. Sai has the coolest jutsu in the whole entirety of Naruto.
Oh yeah. So Sai replaces Sasuke on Team 7, and his jutsu is he can he's a painter, and he can paint like animals and stuff and they become real. And so his jutsu is like summoning ink monsters.
Ink, like paper craft,
Yeah.
real. He can like draw a bird, and then he has now an airplane to fly around on.
Yep. And
It's cool.
he's insanely powerful.
Yeah.
Like I think
Well, he had to kill his brother or something.
his pseudo brother.
Yeah.
Sai is raised in the Foundation, which is this like clandestine organization within Konoha. And yeah, he's kind of like because he was raised to like kill all emotion and personality. He doesn't have a lot of personality initially, but I like him a lot. He's a really cool character, and he's like a strong fighter. He could definitely hold his own.
Yeah, no, he's good.
Okay,
I feel
non-Konoha.
like every character is good. Non-Konoha, like different villages, still good guys or bad guys? now?
We'll do bad guys next, but like still.
Okay. Who's the guy? The guy from the Mist Village who's teams up with Sasuke.
Oh,
redheaded girl.
oh, give me a
The
second.
sharp teeth guy.
Yeah.
He might be my favorite. I like him a lot.
Let me find it.
Is he considered a good guy and also under the criteria of what you're?
I'd say
asking me?
he's a good guy. What is his name? It's something. I need to find Team Hawk or Team Heavy or why can't I think of his
Team
name right
Heavy,
now?
the snake team.
Yeah,
Team Heavy.
because he's not. He's like kind of in it. Oh, it's gonna kill me. I can't remember his name.
Suigetsu.
Tsugetsu. Yeah,
Suigetsu.
and he's this guy who he's trying to collect the 7 swords of the 7 deadly swordsmen, and he doesn't really succeed. I mean, he doesn't die by the end.
He's really just a nobody.
Yeah.
Who happened to just be like kidnapped by Orochimaru.
Yeah, and he can turn into water, which I think is why Orochimaru wanted him. Like he can turn his body into water.
He wanted to Orochimaru just finds interesting people and experiments on them and why they can do what they can do.
Yeah. Who would my non-village good person be? I really like Gara.
Yeah,
Which I feel like
I
is a
didn't
cop
like
out,
Gara
but
until like the middle or until like kind of the midpoint.
yeah. So Gara is initially one of the kind of bad guys. He's an antagonist for a period, and during the tuning exam, he's a bad guy. But he's also a tailed beast vessel. He has the one tail, and he can control sand. He has a really tragic backstory, and he has so much growth in the series. And his interactions with Naruto kind of help him understand what it means to be like a part of a village and part of a family and have friends. I just like his story a lot. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, no, I do too. The only reason I don't choose Gara is because, as you said, it's kind of a cop out.
It is. He's like the default choice. It's like, yeah, this guy. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. His growth is great. I really love the part toward the fourth Shinobi War where they reanimate the corpses of all these old people.
Oh yeah.
And his father can see how he's grown, and he's just like, "I'm so sorry, I made this terrible mistake. Like, you're such a good person." And I was like, "Oh, that's nice."
And I think through that interaction, he either remembers his father's jutsu or he perfects it, because his father who was Kazekage of the Sand Village, can manipulate magnetic forces and pick up gold, and so like his ability is like this wave of gold sand, which Gara incorporates into his stuff, which is pretty awesome. Okay, who's your favorite baddie in this series?
Definitely. Well, that's hard again as well. Orochimaru is too like gray area to be like a bad. I don't know. Nobody's actually that bad. Everyone always has their own motivation for what they're doing, and it is bad, but it's not from their perspective bad. I don't know. I like Pain.
Oh, Pain's good, yeah.
Because his backstory is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that whole team is like that tragic backstory.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that sucks. But it's a
good story. Pain is a good. Like, I'm trying to think. Yeah, Pain's really good, and Pain might give us one of the better arcs, which is like the assault on Konoha Village.
That one, I like the whole flashback sequence, like when Jiraiya is training them, and like why they even come to be in the first place. Like, that part is super interesting,
and that's what I mean by to me, the story is so tight, like, because we see there's a panel. I wish I had a screenshot of it, but there's a panel early on where we're shown different leaders with their teams, like Kakashi with Sakura, Sasuke, and Naruto, and then like Jiraiya with 3 people, and the fourth Hokage with 3 people, and the third Hokage with 3 people. Or the third Hokage has like Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru, and the fourth Hokage has Kakashi, Obito, and whatever the heck her name is. I feel bad for not remembering it, but the third member of that team who dies,
Rin. It's Rin.
Rin, thank you, Rin. And like Jiraiya has these 3 people, and this panel is like probably pre chapter 100, like super early on in Naruto, because it's like 700 chapters long, and it's not until like the 500s or so where we find out who this 3-member team that Jiraiya has are.
And I like how Jiraiya's even so surprised when he figures it out. He's just like, what? You guys? No, I was trying to help you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I just love it so much. I'm trying to think of like, who do I don't like any of the Akatsuki. They're not my favorite. Maybe I almost want to just say Orochimaru, but one thing that pisses me off about the show is that he gets no conclusion. for being this like looming shadow force in the entire series, he just kind of slithers off.
Yeah, he's in Boruto a lot.
Okay, that kind of gives me.
He creates in Boruto. He creates offspring.
Oh God.
and that person is like on the team with Naruto and Sasuke's and Sakura's daughter.
I think, can I just say the 7 Deadly Swordsmen as my favorite? Because, like, Zabuza is so good. And when he comes back, like...
I guess I forgot I could choose Zabuza as a bad guy. He's
True.
so back in the prologue.
Yeah.
I always forget about him in the grand scheme of everything. They reference him so much, though. People from the Mist, they're just like, oh shit, you killed Zabuza?
Yeah. Yeah, that might be my pick, like the 7 Deadly Swordsmen, as just a whole. Because personally, I felt like we meet 2 of them in the course of the real show. There's Zabuza and the shark dude. Really blanking right now.
The Akatsuki guy.
Yeah, the Akatsuki. Yeah. Akatsuki. What's his name? It's not Zetsu, is it? No. Kisame.
I forget.
Yeah. So Kisame is another wielder. He wields what is it called? Samehada, shark skin. And so we meet those 2, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe we'll never meet the other 5 because that's like a lot to cram in. But then they're all resurrected, including the original wielder of Samehada. They're all resurrected during the 4th Great Shinobi War, and like that's such a cool fight because you have like a whole. It's like because at one end, like Naruto is so powerful at that point that he has to do like his own thing. It's like the Goku. Like Goku has to show up to fight the big bad, but Krillin and Gohan and Piccolo can fight the others. And so you got like Kakashi and Sai. No, Sai's not there. But Kakashi and like the other team members who are kind of a little lower power. Kakashi's super powerful, but they have to fight these 7 Deadly Swordsmen. And I just love that whole arc. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. The beginning part of the Shinobi War is like really interesting.
Yeah.
It's like right before they reveal about Toby's backstory.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what could it be? Because I like they show, oh shit, what's his name? The glasses guy.
Kabuto
like opens that casket and is like, I have this. And then Toby's like, oh no. And I'm just like, what could it be? Like, what could it possibly be?
Yeah. That was so good. Kabuto, that poor guy.
Kabuto's backstory is pretty.
Oh yeah,
everyone's backstory is super fucked up. Like,
yeah, and it's like, I think another crazy thing about Naruto is that on one hand, it's this big, huge thing about generational trauma from war and, the consequences of you killed my brother, so I'm going to kill you. And then, oh, you killed my guy, I kill your guy, like this back and forth. Like Naruto wants to stop that system. He wants to kind of break that wheel. But also it's really about what
happens when you neglect your kids.
Yeah, what happens when you when kids have to grow up in this environment, and like what does it do? What does it mean to be an orphan, and like how do you connect with people, and how do you form bonds? My favorite thing, like there's this amazing kind of sequence where Sasuke has an opportunity to talk to the first Hokage, the resurrected first Hokage, and he's like, what does it mean to be a village? And it's like,
he's like, sit down, son, let me tell you the story.
Yeah. and like there were moments where I'm like, wow, there is like some crazy emotional punches that Naruto like throws. And I feel like it lands them all.
Yeah.
Which was shocking to me, where like this thing where you have like a bunch of idiots running around Area 51 doing a ninja run.
I know, totally doing a disservice to like why you should actually watch Naruto.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that, it's actually good.
Exactly. And it's like, it's boiled down to this like cliche. And I hope now that there's just enough distance between the peak popularity of Naruto, where you couldn't go like 10 feet in a convention without seeing an orange jacket and a headband. And now people maybe have an opportunity to go back and revisit it and give it that kind of attention, because I think as a kid you're gonna read through it and you're gonna be like, oh cool, ninja stuff and like superpower moves, but like as an adult now, I'm like reading it, I'm just like, fuck, I just want these kids to be okay.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love the way they pace it out too, to keep these like hard hitting points, to keep it like a shonen action show, and then also keep the sort of heaviness going. I like the framing of like the big fights, where they have like, they're setting up the big fight, right? And then they intersperse it in with these long flashback sequences. They're like, set up the fight, and then they're like, do you know why it's like this? And then they like go back, like, okay, let's go back, and like the very next chapter, it just starts off in a peaceful time where you learn about the backstory of what's going on, and then after that it throws you back into the current time, and you're like, oh, that's why it's like this.
Yeah,
that's why he's doing that.
Yeah, Kishimoto is like the master of Russian nesting doll story.
Yeah,
because it's like, we're in a big fight, but this section of the fight happens between these two characters who have a history. So we're going to open that doll and we're going to look at their history.
Like,
and
pause
then
that and open this.
And then we're going to come back, and it's going to go to the next section of the fight, which recalls this other piece of history. So we're going to crack that doll open, and then we're going to have to crack another one open inside that, and then we're going to put them back together. Yeah, but it's like, it's always compelling, and you like want to know what's going to happen next. Very like I'm trying to think if there was an arc where I'm just like, I wish this was over sooner. No, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, maybe like when Sai, Naruto, Sakura, and Yamato go to meet with the Akatsuki spy at the bridge. Maybe that, but then it leads to like a really cool confrontation between Naruto and Orochimaru. And that fight is just awesome. So it's like, no, I don't think there is like anything that's too boring, because I feel like you care enough about all the characters that you like want to see how this goes.
I never got bored. I was always like, and then what happens? And then what happens? And then what happens?
Yeah.
And then like there would be times when I would get annoyed at like what I just said before, where they will like switch gears in the middle of something else happening to show some different unrelated thing. And I'd be like, I don't want to, I want to see what happened. I want the other thing to finish before I see this. But quickly I'd be like, no, actually, I don't care. I want to see this now.
Yeah.
And it would just be fine. And I'm like, okay. And it would be such, another part of the storytelling that I really, really enjoyed was like the slight unreliableness of the narration, where like they give me some false truth.
Yeah.
And I believe that that's the way until later, where he's like, oh, that's what you heard? That's not how it was. And you're like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of, because the history matters, but also because they're ninja, so a lot of what they do is in secret. Like there are rumor or misunderstandings that have like pretty realistic consequences. So yeah, I agree. I just think it's I just think it's neat. It's really well done.
Yeah, yeah, me too. As I was watching it, I was like, man, Kenny has to watch this.
Yeah, I'm glad
it's
I read
way
it.
better than I remember.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like the art is just speaking it from like reading the manga, like Kishimoto went on so he doesn't write and draw Boruto. He supervises it. But what he did this series with one of his assistants, Akira Okubo, this series called Samurai 8, which is on Shonen Jump. And crap, I like totally forgot my point on this while I was pulling this up. But like I've read that. It's already over. It was kind of short lived, but it was like really like high concept science fantasy kind of crazy stuff. And I knew his art is beautiful, but like seeing the progression of Naruto, and as he starts out as like a one person dude making this, and then he adds on assistants, and then over the 15-year span of Naruto, like his art is just like impeccable, and there's just like some full panel stuff that's just like absolutely gorgeous. Or like he'll do these like really cool character shots where you have like teams all composed together, and just it was so worth it.
Yeah, I do feel bummed out that I missed out on the actual source art, because the anime animation is like pretty lackluster. Like it's pretty sweatshop made for kids for daytime TV. Like it's not that good. It's not bad, but it's not good.
Yeah.
Especially like the first bit of Naruto, not Shippuden. Shippuden gets better with Shippuden, but Naruto is like what? Like this is not good. It's kind of in that early time of just transitioning to non-cell animation. So
right.
It kind of has that early 2000s look to it of non-HD, non-drawn, like computer drawn animation. It's like, ugh. But whatever. The story is so good that I didn't even care after a while.
Yeah. And like, we were talking before the show, but like I've subscribed to the Naruto subreddit now that I've read the whole series. And my favorite thing about it is that frequently people will share the quality clips. So I have seen some of the more well animated fights. I've also seen an excessive amount of people doing like Naruto AMVs, or like their favorite thing to do is like these like aggressively fast smash cuts of character doing attacks one on top of each other, and like it's just it's a lot, but it looks cool. Yeah, it's
a good show, and
it really is. And I think people should give it a shot. They should try it. You know, like don't be as crazy as we are and consuming it in the pace that we did, but maybe like, you know, just keep it around and watch a few episodes here and there, or read a few chapters here and there. It's really it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it.
I think if you get into it though, you won't be able to just put it down easily.
Fair.
Because they introduce more questions than answers, and then they only give you a little bit of the answers and introduce different questions. You're just like, what? No, I need to know more. Like the world building is on point. It's so good. And it doesn't seem like it's going to be that cool at the beginning until you realize that you have questions about stuff that do become addressed, like full on everything that you ask while watching it or reading it. Like, why do we have chakra?
Yeah.
Why are they like this? Why are the nations like this? Like, don't worry, they're gonna tell you.
Yeah, it's like Kishimoto is super committed to fully realizing the world he set up and answering those questions. It's very satisfying, I think, to know the full scope of Naruto. Like I feel very satisfied.
Yeah, same. Now I want to really go to the Naruto park here in Japan. There's like a I don't know, adult
like a theme
obstacle
park?
course. That's Naruto. Yeah, it's like a Naruto theme park. They have some obstacle course things and some ninja themed things.
Oh, that's cool. Got to practice
Yeah.
putting your chakra in your your feet so you can walk on trees.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I tried that enough as a kid. It never worked.
Yeah. Do you still have your wooden kunai?
I hope so. I think they're still at my parents' house somewhere.
Yeah, those are awesome.
I wouldn't have thrown them away for any reason, so I assume they're around. Yeah, my grandpa made those for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, you got to make a bunch so I can give it to my friends. he's like, okay.
Yeah, they're very cool. I sent you a photo of it, and I can maybe send you a new one. But like as I would finish the series, my brother recently got a 3D printer, and I found someone has modeled Kakashi's Anbu mask.
Is it Kakashi specifically?
Yeah, so his specific one. It's like a fox-ish looking one.
Well, they're easy to get. They're just those ones you can get at festivals, right?
Yeah,
like normal...
they are. But I'm gonna see if I can, because like conventions are back now, but I also don't want to be in a convention space without a mask on, and so I'm figuring like,
good call.
I'll just wear an Anbu mask. I'll like wear a face mask under it, but
I feel like it's just hipster enough to be good to do some Naruto cosplay.
yeah, right.
Because like the kids are all either don't care about Naruto at all, or they're into Boruto. So like doing the OG is like a good flex move.
Yeah, totally. I don't think I would look good in like the Shikamaru's fishnet shirt though. I'd have to do like Chunin Shikamaru.
Yeah, the Anbu. We should just go as Anbu.
Oh yeah, I've definitely thought about that.
Guys, that would be cool.
Yeah.
I just as an aside, and maybe as in closing, the most tragic character is the one I can't remember his name right now, which adds to his tragedy, is the bug guy.
Shino.
Because nobody remembers him, and everyone.
I almost said he was my favorite Konoha character. He's so mistreated because I just think like I imagine Kishimoto was just like, I don't have room for so many powerful characters because he like literally blows a guy's arms off with bugs.
I think it was a mistake. I think it was like a mistake in introducing all these cool guys and then like not having enough time.
Yeah.
Or like the story kind of went away into some direction where he's like, well, I don't have time to like explain about all these guys.
Right.
So
he does. Shino and his father and all his clansmen, they play a pretty big role in the Great Shinobi War. And he's always like, I'm not missing out this time, because he didn't participate in the pursuit of Sasuke when Sasuke leaves, and so he's always like, it's like years later and he's still holding a grudge.
In Boruto, he becomes the teacher in that school.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's just always a joke that the people in the village are always like, oh yeah, ninja are so cool, and they forget that he like also participated.
Poor Shino.
There's like a side story where in Boruto they have like this company's making ninja trading cards, so they have this internal in-universe card game that are like the playing cards.
Oh, that's cool.
You know, like trading card game of the famous historical ninja.
Yeah.
So there's like one of all the characters in the show, and so they have this game and they play, and he is absent. The bug guy isn't in the game.
Mm-hmm.
and so everyone's like, why aren't you in this game? Like, I thought you were I thought you were like a good cool ninja. And he gets all sad.
Aww. Poor guy.
I don't need to be in a card game to like prove that I know what I'm doing. And
that's one of my
and like Boruto and all them are like, yeah, that's true, that's right, yeah. But then they like go to do an aside and they're just like, that's really like go ISO, you know, like it's poor him. Like, we need to figure out how to get him in this card game. Like, he's a pretty good teacher. I'm not sure how strong he is though, but like they just don't know how good he is.
Yeah,
so it's funny.
I mean, that's one of the I can't find it now for some reason. Oh, here it is. One of the screenshots that I think I sent it to you, and I was like, geez, Naruto is so brutal. But like Shino in the tuning exam blows a guy's arms off.
Was that a Sound Village guy?
Yeah, the Sound Village guy.
Well, he was gonna die anyway. All those guys, they're all dead. Everyone
Sure.
who is a Sound Village person.
Yeah, but it's
It's not a real village. It's just
Orochimaru's
just like an
village.
alias for
Yeah.
Orochimaru sending some guys to do something.
Yeah. I'm so glad you kind of like lit the spark for Naruto because that was super enjoyable to read, and I think people should read it. And like I said, Shonen Jump app, it's available on Apple and Android, $2 a month, and you have access to all of Naruto and all of Boruto too, which I think I might start reading just to check out.
Nice. There's I don't know the specifics, but if you read Japanese, there's some kind of app that right now Kaori's also reading Naruto.
Oh, nice.
And there's some app, some official app that lets you read it for free if you watch ads.
Oh, that's awesome.
So there you go. That's also an option. That's all the information I can give you. I don't know the name of the
Cool.
app. I don't know where to find it. I don't really know how much you can read at once before it like locks you out or something, but
Yeah.
that's it.
Awesome.
Cool. So Naruto's in the books.
We did it.
We did it.
Believe it.
Yeah, I want to go to a convention now just so I can wear a Naruto headband.
I'm doing it right now.
There's no other acceptable place to do that.
Yeah. I gotta go bury this before someone sees me.
I'm gonna go train how to unlock my Byakugan or something.
Oh man. I think I'd want the Byakugan. I think the other ones are just there's too much work. I just want to be able to see through things.
What's the good one? Rasengan? Like
yeah, the like
the
ultimate one.
Yeah, that's the good one. You don't have to do any work and you just have ultimate power.
Yeah, you just know all the jutsus.
Yeah. Oh, what a good. You should crack into Boruto a little bit.
Yeah, I will.
It's not as good. I'll give you that. Like it is a little more geared down for a younger audience.
Mm-hmm.
Especially at the beginning, it's kind of like a little bit slow, but the story does pick up, and the part I'm at now is pretty good.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's really fun seeing the. It's exactly like the generational gaps you see in Naruto develop, where
Mhm.
like the three, they're what are they called? Like the Great Sannin.
Yeah, the three great ninja.
Three great ninjas, and how like when they're kids, it's how it is when they're kids, and then they become adults, and now the Naruto and company are
Mhm.
kind of like following the footsteps, and it's just the same thing repeating itself. It's like in Boruto, it's fun to see. It's kind of like that, but the technology has changed. Like in Boruto, there's trains.
Oh dang!
They like develop trains, and they like develop like phones and video games and stuff. And it's also funny because they like hamburgers instead of ramen. And Boruto's just like, Dad, you're so lame. Like ramen's freaking old. Like everyone loves burgers now. And
Kill for a
Naruto's
good
just like,
bowl of ramen.
he just doesn't get it. He's just like back in my day, I would have done anything for one bowl of ramen. Kids eat burgers every day. I don't get it.
Spoiled brats.
I know. Cool.
Awesome.
Well, next time we'll regale you with the tales of Odd Taxi and why you should watch that.
Oh hell yeah!
I think that'll be good.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about Odd Taxi.
I know, me too.
I got to finish my rewatch of it.
Yeah, I can't believe you're watching it twice. I don't usually watch things twice so soon.
It's that good.
Yeah, it was very good. Cool.
Awesome.
Well, good luck on your. No, I got nothing. I was gonna say try to make a joke, but I had nothing.
So This is Kenny at Sakoku_otaku on Twitter.
Yep, you can find me at Laven on Twitter. I don't tweet anything.
You can find us. You can find the show on Twitter at Anibros Creative. You can also find we have some sister, brother, cousin
binary
podcasts.
relation podcasts.
Real Japan, Fujoshi Trash Talk, which just released a great episode about Dick Fight Island, which people should go check out. It's very funny. Otaku's Osusume, Otofusume. Recommendations for my otaku spouse. I can't talk. It's getting late here. And I think that's it. And then us. Anibros
The main
Prime.
event.
The main event.
Yeah. The real true one.
You can
basically we're the reason for coming to the stadium, and like those other guys are like the weird little games they play in between innings of a baseball game. Like, like they come out and like do a little random thing on the scoreboard, to like.
I'm gonna find like a dead fish in my mailbox because of that comment.
But we're like the baseball game, okay? Like the one, like why you paid the tickets to come here.
Baseball's drama. You can find us online, www.anibroscreative.com. You can also find us specifically, anibrospodcast.com.
Yes.
Is that right? Cool. I did it. I did the thing.
You did.
I am victorious.
Great.
I am the Hokage now.
Oh, wait. I didn't know that was the criteria.
Yeah, whoever does the outro gets become the Hokage for like 5 seconds.
What? These arbitrary rules.
I don't know.
Well, now I can go back to what I was trying to say before. Good luck with your being the Hokage. And it's a real shit job, so good luck. I'm going to go do something else.
Might be a step up. Okay. Thanks for listening, everybody. Make sure to leave us a comment. Like, who are your favorite characters? What are your favorite jutsu? How far did you get in Naruto? Send us photos of the time you cosplayed as a Naruto character.
How fast is your 1 mile time by doing the Naruto run?
Oh, God, that'd be a great YouTube video.
And I don't know.
Perfect.
That's it. Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah, bye. I'm ending it now.
I think Dana came in, dropped off a package, and left. And I was like, why do I hear someone in my apartment and I know Dana's not here? I was like, oh, Laven's going to hear me get murdered. Cool. Anyway.
I don't have a phone. I don't have a phone that can call American 911, so sorry.
Okay, let me start that point I was going to make.